and welcome back to Chapter 2. This chapter is entitled, Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. According to my mother, my first sleeping area back at the apartment was made out of 2 chairs that she had put together to fashion a makeshift crib. I don't seem to actually recall that, but I believe her. As I write this, my earliest memory seems to be that of my tonsillectomy, which happened about the time I was 3 years old. I'm not able to verify the dates with my mother since she left the planet almost 30 years ago. Well, I guess more than 30 years ago now. It's almost 30 years ago when I actually wrote this, but yeah, it would be more than 30 years ago now. But I did ask these things once upon a time, and if my memory serves me correctly, then the approximate dates in relation to my age during these events will be true enough. I remember bits and pieces of the experience. I remember the hospital entryway and the largeness of it. I remember being in a room with a few other children awaiting surgery. I remember at night when I had to visit the restroom that I would wear paper slippers. I liked the slippers. They were different and fun because it was cool. I'd never seen slippers made out of paper before. They were just these disposable paper slippers. I thought they were fun. I remember one night a nurse saw that I was heading to the bathroom, and she said I couldn't because it wasn't allowed. I was supposed to, according to them, urinate in my bed. So they didn't let me visit the restroom anymore, and always made sure that the sides of the bed were up to cage me in. That wouldn't have mattered since I could crawl over the bed gates anyway, but since they said I couldn't, I felt compelled to comply to their wishes since they were the adults. What they didn't understand was that I was not, capital letters, N-O-T, not, about to urinate in my bed. Not about to wet myself casually and be happy about it. So there I was, in my cage, in pain, both physical and emotional. Physical from having to urinate and being told I had to wet myself if I wanted to go. So physical distress because I had to urinate and I couldn't. It wasn't allowed. According to them, if I needed to do that, I needed to wet myself, urinate in my bed, which didn't work for me, right? So physical and emotional distress. Somehow, in the course of events, I was apparently thrashing about in distress and poked my eye on the railing of the bed. Anyway, I don't actually recall that part of it, but that's what they reported to my mother. I remember the eye patch and the ointment, and even now, after all these years, I still get a vague sensation of pain from the memory of it. It hurt a lot, and when the ointment was applied, as it had to be several times each day, it was especially unpleasant. The injury delayed my leaving the hospital since they were concerned that I was going to lose the eye and wanted to have me close at hand to monitor it. I remember one of my roommates was a little black boy. I don't recall his name, but I remember that he took care of me. It seems, as I think of it now, that he actually got the nurse when I first became injured. He was especially nice and even gave me as a gift a special apple that someone had brought to him. I remember that it had toothpicks and raisins in it. He was wonderful. He was my friend and good to me in my hours of confusion and pain and need. I hope he has gone on to have a very happy and wonderful life. Finally, the day came and I was allowed to return home with my mother. The eye patch went with me, as did the daily applications of ointment. This is the first time I've ever really given any thought to that eye patch, and I find it interesting that I actually recall some of the discomfort involved. Wow, it must really have hurt a very lot. All I remember right now about the returning home was that I was given a gift of a teddy bear sent by one of my cousins, I believe. Was her name Linda? I think it may have been. I named the bear Barry. And I have here written B-E-R-R-Y. And then I say, or was it Barry? B-E-A-R-Y. You know, Barry. Probably it was Barry. B-E-A-R-Y. Since I was 3 and he was a bear. He was light blue and white with a red tongue and was destined from that moment to be my best friend and companion. I remember sometimes when I would go to sleep at night and my mother would kiss me goodnight, that I would say that Barry wanted to give her a kiss too. And I would lick his tongue and then touch it to her cheek, because in my mind, I felt that made his kiss more real and lifelike. I remember the prayer that I would say at night in bed while my mother listened. I remember that she would say it with me, so I would remember it properly. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. I wonder if there are any little kids out there in the world these days that still say that prayer. Probably. And that's the end of chapter 2. Thanks again for joining me on this adventure. I hope you're all having a beautiful day or night, and that you join me again for the next installment. Bye for now.